In the vast wilderness of the African savanna, where survival is a daily battle and compassion is often seen as weakness, sometimes the most extraordinary acts of courage come from the most unexpected sources. What you're about to witness challenges everything we think we know about the boundaries between species, between strangers, and between life and death itself. The morning sun cast long shadows across the golden grasslands near the Zambezi River basin, where an abandoned ranger station sat weathered and forgotten. Its wooden walls, once painted green to blend with the surrounding acacia trees, now bore the scars of countless seasons. Vines crawled up its sides, and the corrugated iron roof rattled in the gentle breeze. This forgotten outpost had become a sanctuary for creatures seeking shelter from the harsh realities of the wild. On this particular morning, the silence was broken by labored breathing and the soft padding of paws against dry earth. A lioness emerged from the tall grass, her magnificent golden coat dulled by exhaustion and pain. Her left front leg bore deep puncture wounds that told a story of a recent battle, and her breathing came in short, desperate gasps. Behind her, two young cubs followed anxiously, their innocent eyes wide with confusion and fear. The lioness had been beautiful once, a powerful huntress who commanded respect across her territory. But now, as she collapsed near the entrance of the abandoned station, her strength was fading fast. The cubs pressed close to her warm body, seeking comfort they didn't fully understand they might soon lose forever. What the small family didn't know was that death was already stalking them. Hidden in the dense undergrowth nearby, a massive python lay coiled and patient. This wasn't just any snake. It was a 20-foot African rock python, one of the continent's most formidable predators. Its thick, muscular body was perfectly camouflaged among the dried leaves and fallen branches, and its cold, calculating eyes had been watching the vulnerable family for hours. The python had encountered this lioness before. 3 days earlier, in a dense thicket several miles away, it had attempted to make her its prey. The attack had been swift and merciless. The snake had wrapped its powerful coils around the lioness while she was teaching her cubs to hunt. The struggle had been fierce, with the lioness fighting not just for her own life, but for the future of her offspring. She had managed to escape, but not without paying a terrible price. The python's crushing grip had damaged her ribs and left her front leg nearly useless, while its teeth had torn deep wounds that refused to heal. Now, as the lioness lay weakened and vulnerable, the python sensed an opportunity to finish what it had started. It began to move, its massive body gliding silently through the grass with deadly precision. The cubs, unaware of the approaching danger, continued to nuzzle their mother, seeking warmth and reassurance. But they were not alone in this remote corner of the wilderness. An elderly woman named Elena had been walking the old trails that morning, following a path she had known since childhood. She was the village healer, a woman whose weathered hands had delivered countless babies and whose keen eyes had seen the patterns of life and death play out in these lands for over 60 years. Her grandfather had taught her the ways of the wild, and she possessed an almost supernatural ability to sense when something was wrong. As she approached the abandoned station, Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The air seemed too quiet, too still. Her instincts, honed by decades of living close to nature, screamed danger. She slowed her pace and scanned the area carefully, her experienced eyes picking up details that others might miss. That's when she saw them. The lioness and her cubs, huddled together in their desperate situation. Elena's heart clenched as she recognized the signs of a mother fighting to protect her young, even in her final moments. But it was movement in her peripheral vision that made her blood run cold. The python was making its move. With fluid, terrifying grace, the massive serpent emerged from its hiding place and began to encircle the helpless lioness. Its first coil wrapped around her hind legs, and she let out a weak roar that spoke of pain, exhaustion, and fierce maternal determination. The cubs scattered a few feet away, their instincts telling them to flee, but their love for their mother keeping them close. Elena knew she had only moments to act. At 72 years old, she was no match for a giant python in terms of physical strength. But she had something far more powerful, the unbreakable will of someone who had spent her entire life protecting others. Without hesitation, she grabbed a rusted iron bar that had once been part of the station's fence. Her arthritic hands gripped the metal tightly as she charged toward the deadly scene unfolding before her. The python was already wrapping its second coil around the lioness's torso, its muscular body beginning the slow, crushing process that would end her life. Elena's first strike landed squarely on the python's thick back. The snake barely seemed to notice. Her second blow was harder, aimed at the creature's head, and this time she heard the satisfying crack of iron against bone. The python turned its massive head toward her, its cold eyes fixing on this new threat with ancient primal fury. But Elena wasn't backing down. She had seen too much death in her lifetime, had lost too many battles against disease and injury and the harsh realities of life in the wild. Today, she decided, would be different. Today, she would not let death win. The python, perhaps sensing the determination in this frail human, released one of its coils from the lioness and wrapped it around Elena's waist. The elderly woman staggered, but didn't fall. Instead, she raised the iron bar again and brought it down with all the strength she could muster directly onto the snake's skull. The blow connected with a sound like breaking pottery. The python's grip loosened slightly, and Elena struck again and again. Each impact sent shockwaves through her aging body, but she pressed on, driven by something deeper than courage, a fundamental refusal to let innocent lives be lost while she still drew breath. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the python's coils went slack. The massive snake, dazed and injured, released both the lioness and Elena. With a final, hate-filled glare, it slithered away into the undergrowth, leaving behind only the sound of rustling leaves and heavy breathing. Elena collapsed to her knees, her chest heaving from the exertion. The iron bar slipped from her fingers as she looked toward the lioness, who was struggling to lift her head. Their eyes met across the small distance between them, and in that moment, two mothers, one human, one feline, shared an understanding that transcended species. The lioness, using what little strength she had left, dragged herself closer to Elena. She pressed her great head against the woman's weathered hand, a gesture of gratitude that needed no words. The cubs, sensing that the danger had passed, crept closer to their mother, their small bodies trembling with relief. Elena smiled, her fingers gently stroking the lioness's mane. She had given everything she had to this moment, and as her own strength began to fade, she felt a deep satisfaction. The python had been defeated, the cubs were safe, and their mother would recover to hunt another day. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Elena closed her eyes for the last time. The lioness stayed beside her throughout the night, standing guard over the woman who had saved her family. When morning came, the big cat gently nudged her cubs, and together they walked away into the vast wilderness, carrying with them the memory of an extraordinary act of courage. The villagers found Elena the next day, the iron bar beside her and paw prints in the soft earth telling the story of what had transpired. They erected a small monument at the spot, with words carved in stone. One life given freely so others might live. Justice had been served in the most beautiful way possible, not through revenge or retribution, but through the triumph of love over fear, courage over despair, and the unbreakable bond between mothers, regardless of species. If this story moved you and reminded you of the incredible power of compassion, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing true stories from the wild. Your support helps us continue sharing these remarkable tales of survival, sacrifice, and the extraordinary connections that exist in the natural world.